We are going to place all our dry ingredients into a bowl. So weigh and sieve out your flour, add your fast action yeast and the sugar. And now for the wet ingredients. Here I've got my milk measured out and I've poured into my melted butter, cracked the eggs and whisked them, and then added this to the mixture too. I'm pouring my wet ingredients into the dry ingredients a little bit at a time and stirring in between. This should all start to come together and form a nice soft dough. Here I'm flouring my surface so that my dough doesn't stick to the table too much. Now we've got to knead our dough. I'm kneading my dough by pushing the dough away with the heel of my palm and then folding it itself back using my fingers and pulling it backwards. I will do this process for at least 10 minutes until the dough has come together and becomes soft and stretchy. This recipe is quite a wet mix, so don't worry too much if your dough is quite sticky. I haven't added more flour to this because I don't want my Belgian buns to become too dry. After kneading for about 10 minutes, I'm going to place my dough into an oiled bowl. This will help the dough from not sticking to the surface of the bowl. I'm just going to place a piece of cling film over the top of the bowl and leave it to prove. The proving process can take about 30 to 60 minutes, so it depends how much time you've got. The dough will increase in size. Once your dough is proved, it is now time to prepare the fillings. I've got some sultanas here, but mine are a little bit dry, so here's a top tip. I'm just going to pour pre-boiled water into a dish with my sultanas and just going to leave them for 10 minutes. This should plump them up and make them lovely and juicy. Now it's time to preheat your oven. Again, on a floured surface, I'm going to get out my dough and roll it out. I want it into a rectangular shape, and once it's rolled out, I'm wanting it to be about the size of 2 A4 sheets of paper side by side, about A3 size. I'm now going to add my filling on top of the dough. I'm using lemon curd here and the back of a spoon, but you could also use a palette knife to smooth it across the top. Next is the sprinkling of the sultanas, making sure that it's nice and even across the whole of the rectangular sheet of dough. I'm now rolling up along the long edge of my rectangular sheet of dough. And to seal, I've just brushed with a little bit of water using a pastry brush and added a little bit of pressure while rolling up. Now to cut up into sections. Here I'm using a vegetable knife, but you could also use a butter knife. I'm cutting it up and it should make about 15 rolls, depending on the length of your roll. I'm placing on a tray, evenly spaced apart. Lightly press down with your hand to flatten the dough pieces slightly, and then bake in the oven for approximately 15 minutes or until golden brown. Remove from the oven and place on a cooling rack. Now for the icing on the top. I've sieved my icing into a bowl and I'm adding water, just a tiny drop at a time. Remember, you can always add more water, but you can't take it away. The amount of water you add to your icing will depend on how runny you'd like your icing to be. Just to note, if you do like thick icing like me, you may need to double the recipe to be able to cover all of your Belgian buns. Again, I'm using the back of a spoon to cover my icing over the top of the buns. The classic way to finish off a Belgian bun is to place half a glacé cherry on top